Hallelujah, Yahweh. Praise YAHWEH. In the name of the Son, YAHWEH, Bet Noon Sophie, YAHWEH, Selah. Welcome to Black Gods of Yahweh Media. You know, something was on my mind this morning when I woke up. And you guys always hear me say this, that I've been thinking about doing this video for a long time. And of course, you know, I'm going to say that again. And we're talking about gentrification. And as I look at gentrification, I know it's real and it exists. But once the liberals and the mainstream media start pushing this, I know there's something else behind it. And Salakia, has something to do with what we did not do. When these people are gentrifying black neighborhoods, it's almost a given that black people don't own any of the property there. So it is going to be painful, yes. And I'm not blaming everyone, but I'm blaming most of us. You are being gentrified because you are not self-sufficient. Almost every place that's being gentrified, guess what? There is a Asian or East Indian business in your neighborhood, and you don't own the land or the property. A lot of this is our fault. For example, I'm originally from Compton, California. I think I've said this before. My parents separated. I was raised in Arkansas. I went back there again when I was 19 or 20 in 1993. It was no longer black. You know why? Because all of the Mexican and Hispanics, they were moving in. And a lot of people heard this story before. I'm not knocking them. Putting 10 people in one house that one Mexican person owned or rented. Working their tails off, buying another home. Working together as a family until they own the whole neighborhood. That's what they did. They did this within a decade or two. And now most of central Los Angeles is not black. That's how black people was pushed out of Compton and Los Angeles in certain areas. And that's just an example. When you don't control where you live, you allow other people to come dictate it for you. These whites and Asians and foreigners, they don't care about gentrifying you. They're taking your neighborhood that's run down on most cases, not all situations in gentrification, and they're putting in new homes and businesses there. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. People aren't going to like this, but guess what? I'm speaking the truth. I can't really knock them in that respect because we've had decades, us black people, to get our stuff together. We've had decades to get into real estate, home ownership, get into home building and carpentry, plumbing, being an electrician, getting into farming and gardening. These are all things that you can do just as an average black person when everybody wants to pick up a basketball or football. When you get out of high school and you're not basketball or football material, what you should be trying to do is get a degree or a trade in something that's going to help you survive. Something in real estate, something in transportation, something in being an auto mechanic, something as far as something that's going to help you survive. Dealing with home ownership and the basic necessities of survival. I'm going to tell you why gentrification is black people's fault, mostly. Do you know how many other so-called black people that I look at that's my age still working a 9 to 5 and don't have nothing to show for it? I'm not bragging. In every case, it's different. I'm 46 years old. I have 2 younger children. I have 2 retirements. I'm working on my own trucking authority. So what happens to my children is my fault. So my sons aren't going to have to worry about being gentrified. Where I live now is nothing but home owners and renters here. We don't live in a neighborhood that is a low-income neighborhood that most people live that's getting money from the government. And I have to be real, a lot of times it was our situation that put us this way. But I was able to get out of the ghetto. I am from the projects in the sticks. So I'm from the country, the ghetto, and the projects. So gentrification has a lot to do with how we have allowed ourselves to be gentrified. I'll give you another example. The historical black colleges, Grambling and Southern. There's many more out there, but I'm going to use those two as an example. Doug Williams was the last black quarterback from Grambling, or historical black college, to win a Super Bowl. Once all of these mainstream white colleges decided that they were going to recruit black people ran away from their own colleges or historical black colleges. See, there's an old saying, if you don't use something, you're going to lose that something. And that's what we've done. Integration. No matter how many old movies and documentaries you see, books you read, lies that's told in school, we were better off as a people when we were separated. Yes, we have more individual millionaires and people who have individual wealth, but not collectively. Just look at BET. Just look at Motown. They were once black owned, but they sold them. They sold those companies because they weren't thinking about black people. Same thing about black neighborhoods in inner cities in which immigrants have came in and took over. You wasn't concerned about that because people are saying right now, just think, if I don't care anything about your race and you live in a low income neighborhood in which is funded by the state and the government, why do I care about gentrifying you? You've been here for 400 years. You can't keep running that excuse that the white man is going to destroy every black Wall Street you build. Well, build another one up. If you're living in a home and that home burned down, then you're going to build another home. Aren't you going to find another place to stay? The same rules apply as it pertains to us being independent and self-sufficient. Families have to work together. But see, as so-called blacks, we can't live under the same roof without fighting. Other races have done this. Most of the historically black areas in the inner cities have either been gentrified, on the way to being gentrified, or they have been dominated by Hispanics because they came in and they did what they were supposed to do. I'm not knocking them. Name me an area in which people are complaining about gentrification that black people own the property. Send it to me. It's rare. So when many of us was wasting our time in our 20s and 30s partying and getting drunk, as a collective, during the last 2 decades, this is the position we're in. We're 20 years behind. It's 20 years, 30 years too late. Yes, black people is getting into these things now. They're living better. They're eating better. People are getting into farming and agriculture. People is getting into home building. But it's almost too late for many of us. It is too late. While we were sitting in these areas, being comfortable with living off of government and low-income housing, then that's the position you're in today. Something good can come out of gentrification. Just like during the riots or any protest or riots in which black people were destroying the businesses in the neighborhood, something good can come out of that. That they don't rebuild the businesses and force you to rebuild your own business. Force you to build your own business and make your own way. If you are a group of people that spend billions of dollars on consumer goods, you have no excuse that you cannot come together, combine your wealth and resources as a so-called black family, and control your own destiny in real estate, home ownership, business, and academically educating your own. People are going to start gentrifying you. Yes, we know this world don't have that long to go, but what if it does? So I have to be real about gentrification. 90% of it is our fault. Most so-called black people who aren't worried about gentrification is people that can pull up from one place, got the finances and resources, and move to another place. Get on your Google and research land for sale, research old properties. I guarantee you'll find a place. You'll find those places. So we have not built the equity, and we have not put our resources together. We haven't saved any money. We haven't done any of that. So you can't get those places. Now, every case isn't the same. Some of these young children in this situation of gentrification, I don't blame them. I blame their parents. But how can you gentrify a self-sufficient people? You can't. You can only gentrify a dependent people. So just let that sink in. A people who is self-sufficient and independent from a grassroots or from a low level, is such as home ownership or land ownership, they're not worried about gentrification. Once again, I feel sorry for these kids and these young people. What you do affects your children. The life that I live affects my child. So because you were a person that did not work 20, 30 years and draw retirement, and retirement is overrated. I'm talking about the check. So you should have been working hard where you got a retirement from one business, moved to the next and started your own business, or had another profession. But black people, what we've been doing is getting fired, going from place to place, having problems with drugs, buying sneakers and fancy cars. And I've seen people with Beamers living in the projects. So we've done a lot of mismanagement of our wealth and our resources. Gentrification is our fault because we are depending on another race of people to save us. They don't care. That's the bottom line. They don't care. And they've been sitting here looking at you, living off of them, and expecting them to control your destiny. And what they're telling you is you're getting the boot. They don't care about these black neighborhoods and these low-income neighborhoods that you don't own. One man showed you how to do it in Miami in the 80s and 90s. YAHWEH been YAHWEH. But you decided that you wasn't going to pay attention to that. Putting your wealth and resources and your time, families coming together, friends coming together, saving their money, rebuilding old properties, buying these old properties. I remember I was 25 years old and I was home on leave from the military, and this white guy was trying to get me to buy this 3-bedroom house for $10,000. I'm kicking myself now for not doing it. So just think about that. I'm good now. I'm in the process of buying my own home. But looking at it right now, the mistakes that we've made, it only affects us in the long run. This is our fault. You can't gentrify a people that controls their own destiny. So we're going to have to point the fingers at our own self. The last thing I'm going to end on is, I don't know if you guys have seen the video about this young sister who could not buy Pampers for her baby girl because the protesters had burnt the store down and destroyed the store. Some young black woman or some young black man is going to look at that video and make use of it and say, I'm going to never be in that position. I'm going to make sure I own my own property, and I'm going to start my own business. And I'm going to make sure that my children have Pampers and medicine when they need it. Someone's going to make use of that. Someone's going to look at that girl making a video talking about black people put the gun on her and destroyed the store, and they're going to make use of it. And some people are going to look at that and just be like, oh, well, whatever. This is Black Gods of YAHWEH Media. This is my opinion, Salakia, on gentrification. And you guys have any comments, let me know in the comment section. Like, share, do what you do. Until the next video, I want to say peace and shalom. Stay safe in these last days that we in, and I'm out.